Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, to another episode of Menshrine. For today's topic, we are going to go ahead and dive into the Menshrine blog backlog again and cover a topic that, once more, many guys have reached out to me asking conflicting questions when it comes to diet and exercise in general. So, over the next coming days and weeks, I'll actually be diving more into this, and I'll probably brand it as like a Fat to Fit series. So, to get started, we'll start with some just basic topics, and the article that I'm going to be using as the basis of this video is 5 diet lies that keep you fat forever. Before we get started, obviously, for anything like these listicle type articles, there will be things I'll miss. There might be things that you disagree with, so be sure to address any of those down in the comments. If you have any questions, I'll go ahead and save those towards the end of the video. And before we get started, if you could, and haven't done so already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little notification bell so you are notified when these live streams are coming up. And once more, leave anything in the comments that I failed to mention or maybe that you disagree with. And with that being said, I will not hesitate any longer and let's get going. So let me share the screen here. And you know what? I'm going to put this little ticker on there too. So, guys, if you want to follow me, you can go ahead and do it here. The easiest way to reach me is at Jaren Scott, JarenScott on Instagram. Again, that's at Jaren Scott, JarenScott on Instagram, or on the branded account at Menshrine. Also, you can go to menshrine.com. There you can do one-on-one coaching, sponsored YouTube video requests. You want to throw a couple bucks my way, there's a donate tab, or just click join Menshrine to sign up for the email list. I'll go ahead and keep you privy to any updates or any new features or functionality being built out as it comes down the pike. And now we will go ahead and dive on into the article. So, 5 diet lies that keep you fat forever. And for my audio only listeners, we have a featured image here. It's just an overweight man eating looks like a slice of pickle or something with a nice Richard Simmons type afro and a devilish snickering sneer on his face. So let's start off. Why diet lies exist. So, guys, first and foremost, if you're following my channel, you know that I'm a huge advocate of fitness, overall health, and just well-being in general. So, that being said, take this with a grain of salt. And again, for those who have followed my Fat to Fit series, when I speak of fat, I'm not making a judgment call directly against the person. I've been fat before. It definitely sucks. But when I refer to fat, I'm referring to the excess accumulation of adipose tissue, which is just an additional store of energy. And for some people, it ends up being a lot of additionally stored energy. So that's what we're addressing here when I use the word fat. So why do diet lies exist? There's no good reason to be fat. Despite all the body positivity BS the media spews, every single person on the planet pretty much knows that being overweight is far from healthy. Guys that have been living in reality the last 2 years, we know with this pandemic thing going around that there are comorbidities, that there are health indicators that, to a high degree of predictability, can tell that if you're going to suffer not from the condition, let's just call it that. So, being overweight is definitely not going to help you. I've made the point to many people when they give me grief over some of my personal health choices, especially in the last 2 years, that hey, if you're fat, you're not really allowed to have an opinion on this, because if you were really, really, truly worried about it, you would have addressed the weight situation a long time ago. For guys that follow me for like dating advice or just game, how to meet women, how to optimize your sexual market value, and things like that, I'm going to be honest. I used to be obese, and women find it repulsing. They think it's simply gross. With all of this body positivity, like fit or healthy at any size or whatever the hell they're talking about in the media nowadays, it's always changing. You never hear them talk about men being attractive at any size. So, guys, this does not apply to you. This image here is Michael Moore says, "I'm not fat, I'm just full of shit," with a caption of "all fat people lie." And the reason I say that is because when you're overweight, especially to certain percentages overweight, and I've actually covered this in previous videos as far as how to tell your body fat percentage. I'll do more videos like this in the future as far as how to actually measure and track your own body fat percentages. And then we'll get into some of the diet stuff. But this article, it's a good introductory piece in terms of just some of just the fat loss or diet myths that we hear constantly in society that really they aren't fact at all. They're rather more fiction. So, furthermore, anyone over the age of 5 knows which foods and habits are healthy, more or less, and those that are not. Yet, most people are still walking, talking tubs of lard and literal ticking time bombs just waiting for heart failure or diabetes. And the reason I say this is, would you take tax advice from a homeless person? How about boarding a plane with a blind pilot? No offense to any pilots that may have gone blind, but typically that doesn't instill a lot of trust in the consumer. So when it comes to diet advice, why would you listen to your average office idiot whose physique clearly communicates they do not know what they are talking about? Um, Out of shape people feed themselves excuses to save face. And guys, I again, I say that especially when you're super overweight, see it what for what it is. It's a food addiction. So we need to treat this like any other addictive substance. Approach it the same way you would like an alcoholic, someone who's stuck smoking cigarettes and needs a cessation plan, or any other hard or soft drugs for that matter. So address it as an addiction because it really is. It's much easier to come up with a reason to why you can't do something rather than take accountability and make the changes necessary to live a higher quality life. And that is what I advocate here on this channel, is just overall well-being and health, whatever that looks like for you. But from an objective medical and scientific standpoint, being obese is not healthy. So let's get that in our heads first and foremost. Actually, that should have been the first slide. That's actually the introduction to the article, but it is not healthy to be grossly overweight, guys. Let's get that clear right now before we dive into this. So when it comes to dieting, we see these types of excuses everywhere. Luckily, you can choose to stop being average and start living optimally, which is what I promote on Menshrine. So first, we need to get you the fuel and physique necessary to start kicking ass in life. Guys, if you have that bravado alpha, like go get it, kick the ass, Semper Fi type energy, well, it doesn't serve you that well if your physical vehicle cannot really make much tangible change in the physical world. So this is why it's of utmost importance to keep your fitness and your just general health on track. So to start, we will examine 5 common diet lies that keep you fat forever, and people tell you in an attempt to keep you fat forever. So you'll start seeing this theme here. When it comes to food addiction, like any sort of other addiction, you will have enablers. And unfortunately, we currently live in a society that enables overeating or food addiction. So that's something that needs to be addressed at some point. Part of my focus on this channel, amongst other topics, is to start addressing those things. I believe that the obesity epidemic it's akin to how smoking was like 20 or 30 years ago. It is a societal issue. It is a national health issue. It is a national security issue, really. I've seen videos as far as military officials commenting on that. So it is something you need to get in check. So without further ado, we'll dive into the listicle, or the list of diet lies. So the first diet lie is that purchasing healthy food is too expensive. This is likely the most common diet lie you'll hear when it comes to getting your diet in check. And although there is an element or ounce of truth, if you're looking to buy a bunch of prepackaged crap that doesn't leave you nourished or satiated, um, really, yeah, I guess it is easier to buy a big ass box of cookies or a bag of chips and get an entire day's worth of caloric content for just a few bucks. However, and I will cover this in future videos, not all calories are the same. So 1,000 calories that you might get out of a bag of Lay's chips, depending upon the size. Yeah, you could probably, yeah, like 5.8 ounce, 6.6 ounce or something. Yeah, you could probably get like, let's say 1,000 calories out of a bag of Lay's chips. Well, you can get that. I had, I think, two pounds of cod fish last night. Baked it, super light. Did like low calorie, sugar free sauce that I made myself. It came in far less than that similar bag of chips. So same caloric content, but completely different in terms of macronutrition and nutrients, in terms of just nutrition in general, and then how it actually equates or translates to overall body composition. Now, if you do this day over day, week over week, month over month, year over year, and you do it for a long time, I've been at my fitness journey for like 17 years now, and think more or less I have it dialed in. That is where you see the difference. So no, you won't get fat just eating one bag of chips, but if you eat terribly every single day consistently, well, you're going to get fat. Your body doesn't know any better. You're giving it the stimulus or the fuel to put on fat, really, at that point. So a lot of people get confused about this one, thinking that it's expensive to diet from a healthy standpoint. So there's an image here for about 20 bucks, and this was pre hyperinflation, so it's probably higher now. For about 20 bucks, you could buy one large pepperoni feast pizza from Domino's and order of breadsticks, and it comes out to, yeah, about 20 bucks, unless they have promotions. Or, according to this image, you could buy looks like sausage, tilapia, sugar-free coffee creamer, some healthy carbs, some more lean meats, looks like healthy fats, and some sort of like nut butter, and then your legumes. And that comes in actually under 20 bucks. It looks like this image says here, what is it, 1866. So guys, if you don't believe me, do the math, try it yourself, look around, look at what junk food costs you, especially if it's like fast food or takeout food or any of your delivery apps. And usually it's consistently and considerably cheaper to go the healthy option. However, that does take a little bit of maybe prep and cleanup time, but those are things that we will cover in future videos as far as how to maximize your eating plan, plan your diet, and then your expenses as well. And I've practiced pretty much every sort of diet that exists in the book on every sort of budget. Obviously, if you go lower budget, there are different considerations that need to be taken into place, but more or less, it is cheaper to eat a healthy diet. If we're talking outside of terms of just the financial aspect, in the long term, and you can calculate this for people that have like super high BMI, which are body mass index, or high body fat percentages later on in life, how that translates to medical bills and the cost savings from eating healthy from day one and doing it consistently. It's a night and day difference in terms of like longer term health care if you factor in those considerations, which you definitely should, because it's your life, it's your body. You only get one of each. And for me personally, I like to live an awesome life in a body that enables me to do so. And that is what I advocate on this channel. So um, going the going the cheap route, again, you can do like a whole bag of cookies or chips, and yeah, it might be cheaper, but it'll leave you severely deficit nutrition wise, and you'll likely end up being a big fat ass if you choose to eat this way. So despite what internet marketers tell you, not all calories are created equal, which I already alluded to. So yes, you need to be in a deficit to lose weight. And I see questions coming in. I'll address these at the end, but guys, really, it's really all about being in a deficit to lose weight. And let's be clear, there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss. So I advocate fat loss. That means maintaining and maximizing lean muscle mass or lean body mass. You also want to look into like bone density type issues. Tomorrow I'll cover how to do a DEXA scan, how to measure body fat, and then how to interpret the results of a DEXA scan. But these are all indicators that you'll want to look out for as you start your fat to fit transformation. So personally, I will refer to this as fat loss because I don't advocate the skinny fat look. That's where, okay, well, maybe you're not fat, like you don't have globs of fat protruding over the belt line or anything, but you also don't have any muscle underneath. So it gives you just kind of that soft, like spongy, pudgy look, which is definitely a non-attractive look on us guys, especially. So just because the number on the scale is going down, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll look good if you're still eating crap food, deficit or not. So the way I like to say this, you want to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. However, to lose fat, then you want to make sure that you plan your nutrient sources and your macronutrients accordingly. So deficit and surplus will determine fat loss, or my apologies, deficit or surplus will determine weight loss or weight gain. If you want muscle gain, then there's different ways you go about your macros. If you want fat loss, there's a different way you go about your macros. So in general, if you can't plan your macros, that's fine. At least get started eating in a deficit, but you'll likely lose muscle mass too if that's your goal, is to maintain muscle mass, which again, I advocate lean muscle mass, low body fat percentages. That's what we're going for here, guys. So the key is ensuring you're eating nutrient dense foods. And at some point, I'll put together like a ton of diet tips and tricks. I have a whole bunch of them, but a key here is that, guys, you want to eat foods in higher volume and that have nutrient density. So in future videos, really, I could talk all day or all week on this. There's just so much in the diet and fitness and weight loss industry. So I'll hack these up into individual topics. Guys, you'll also need to relearn how to shop. So a simple rule for if you're approaching a supermarket for the first time and you're starting to take your diet into consideration is you normally want to stick to the perimeter of the supermarket. Ideally, you'll prepare your own meals, or you'll at least assemble the base ingredients and keep the base ingredients to a minimum, as in like no package process type stuff, and then compile your macronutrients with the items you find typically on the perimeter of the supermarket. Obviously, there's bakeries and stuff too, so we're gonna go ahead and skip the cookies. If we do breads, it'll be like it'll be good bread. It'll be whole grain or nutrient dense breads that have like a lower caloric content is usually my philosophy there. But we'll cover these in future topics. There's no reason usually you should go to the middle of an aisle, even if you do have things like canned veggies or sauces or stuff, which I do include in my diet. typically the middle of any aisle in any supermarket, it's all processed crap and it's all stuff that ideally you should stay away from. Now, a lot of guys don't realize this, but your diet should be meat based. It's not really hard to check the local ads and take advantage of any specials. I do that quite often. In fact, you can go on the internet, look up your local chain grocery outlets or your retailers, and then see what sort of meats are on sales. Typically, for meat, I like to, in general, go leaner meat, which means higher protein content, lower fat content. And what we'll get into this myth here in diet line number two. Um, Higher protein content, lower fat content, and then I fill in the fat that I need in my diet with vegetable based fat. So I like avocados and coconuts and all of your nut butters and that kind of stuff. Fish every now and then, like heart healthy fish fats are good too. I'll do that at least once a week. So that brings us to diet line number two, that you shouldn't eat too much meat. This is another one of those diet lies that keep you fat that needs to go away and is based entirely in half truths. So if you're consuming loads of fatty steak every day and slamming it down with donuts and full sugar soda, yes, you are going to have problems. You're going to have cholesterol problems. You're probably going to have heart rate problems, blood pressure problems, all that kind of stuff. And it's just not going to be a good look on you. But what most lazy people don't tell you is that the combination of fat and carbs or carbohydrates is what's causing your health problems. So blaming meat for your problems is akin to quitting cardio because you're a pack-a-day smoker and your lungs just can't handle the load. It's really just complete nonsense. We hear this stuff all the time. There's a lot of cultish, like religious type diet movements. Pretty much all elimination diets fall on those lines, guys. You need a varied nutrition source in your diet. And all of your protein should be based in meat. That's really not debatable. If you don't believe me, go ahead and look up any vegan channel. Natural vegans, if they're on a bunch of steroids, you can get away with a vegan diet because you don't need the animal fat to synthesize natural testosterone. But look up ex-vegan channels or any of those, and then get back to me. Tell me it's good for you. And I know also because remember how I said I've tried all these diets? I was actually a vegan for 3 years and it was terrible. It shut me down completely. I went to an endocrinologist and the first thing he did was put me on a 30-day steak and eggs diet, which got things starting to get back in the right order. So there's an image here. I want a vegetable tray just like this one. The joke is for my audio only listeners, there's no vegetables. It's a giant ring of pork fried, pork meats and steaks and all sorts of nice, yummy stuff. So I want a vegetable tray. And guys, you can get away with eating your fattier meats, but as a general rule, as fat in your diet goes up, your carbohydrates need to go down. Fat and carbs don't mix. So no pizza, no donuts, no cakes, none of that stuff. You can do it maybe on a cheat day. We'll get into the diet philosophy in future videos and topics. But as a general rule, protein remains constant. You need a good level of protein. For most bodybuilder type people, they say 1 pound or 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body fat. You can get away going down to as low as 0.82 grams of protein per pound of lean body fat. So for my minimal protein, I do the 0.82. And then for my diet target for the day, I try to aim about the 1 gram of protein per pound of body mass. And I actually calculate that on my lean body mass or my lean muscle mass to try to save some calories in my diet. Typically, you can go lower protein if you go higher carbohydrates because carbohydrates are anabolic. They shuttle nutrients into your cells. And that is for that reason why you don't want high carbs and high fat. So typically, guys, just as a general rule, don't mix your fats and carbs, and you'll be okay there. In a future video, you know what? I'll jot this down. I'll go ahead and break down what each macronutrient category is and then what they mean. So this will make some more sense to you. So if you want more stuff on these topics, again, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. I'll have plenty of this stuff coming up over these next few days and weeks because we are in the home stretch of starting to streamline our spring and summer physique. Let's just say that. So a lot of guys are reaching out to me personally on my Instagram, asking me these sorts of questions. So I'll just craft my content around it. And again, caption for the video, giant meat tray, my favorite vegetable. Yep, it's always meat. So once more, when it comes to fat versus carbohydrates, pick one or the other. For fat loss, I'm personally a proponent of the low carb approach since I like being big, lean, and strong. If you prefer the power lifter look, you can go leaner on the cuts of meats to offset the increased carbs because to gain muscle, strength, mass in general, usually a higher carb count is the way that you'll go. And guys, look around you. There's a reason everyone lean and muscular eats mostly meat. Now, like your typical land well waddling through Walmart. Here's a good one, guys. When you're in the grocery store, look at what people are putting in their carts, and that can give you a pretty good idea of what consuming certain food types or categories is going to do to you. So, what are fat people throwing in their carts? Okay, well, don't eat that. Especially to alcohol. You want to cut out alcohol too. That does all sorts of crazy crap to your liver. We'll get in that in future videos, but alcohol is not your friend when you're trying to build a lean and mean muscular physique. So try to start abating your alcohol use if you're in that habit. Guys, don't even think once more about going vegetarian or vegan unless you want to be gaunt, weak, anxious, and malnourished. As a man in general, red meat will give you all you need nutrition wise. Remember, we want nutrition density. That's what we're after. So there's nothing more nutritious pound for pound than meat. Furthermore, you must include saturated fat in your diet to a degree to properly produce hormones. There are considerations there. So, for example, I'm on testosterone replacement therapy. There's other hormones in the protocol because a good endocrinologist, and I've covered this before in previous videos, so look in the backlog. A good endocrinologist, they'll check all of your hormones and make sure that your entire hormonal profile is in balance and ideally optimized. So if you do have an exogenous source of testosterone, you don't need as much animal sourced fats. And so typically I'm on more of like a lower moderate fat in my diet. And then I adjust the fat and carb ratios based on wherever I want my energy source to come from. Again, lower carb and higher fat in the diet with moderate protein will give you more of a lean, like kind of like paper thin type look subcutaneously or under your skin. However, you'll look kind of flat, like your muscles won't be as full. And a lot of guys have performance issues in the gym with that. Conversely, if you go higher carb, you want to go lower fat, you'll probably look a little bloated. You'll get like a puffier face. You'll have puffier skin. You won't have like the vascularity, which is like the appearance of veins, or the striations, which are like the nice little cut marks that you get in certain muscle groups. So really, it all depends on what your goals are in the gym. When we go into like macronutrients in future videos, I'll dive into this and then show how to actually calculate those and scale those two against each other. Sure. Again, guys, we want to avoid vegan and like vegetarian type diets, but I will add some veggies here and there. They're normally not necessary, and I don't like the additional bloat because, especially like your more fibrous, like your leafy veggies, it is a lot of fiber, and pound for pound is what we're talking about here. So yes, vegetables have nutrients in them; they have plenty, but pound for pound to get, for an example, the same amount of nutrition from a 4-ounce piece of liver meat from beef. You need something, it's something crazy, like multiple kilograms of spinach for the same nutritional content. So stick to meat, get your proteins from meats. I like to vary my protein sources. So there might be like a red meat day, pork day, chicken day, shrimp day, fish day, for example. I like exotic meats too. So if I see them on the menu, I'll go ahead and go for them. Diet lie number 3, eating clean is bland and boring. Think meat is bland? Well, you're either lazy, a shitty cook, or lack some sort of creativity if this holds remotely true to you. Guys, if you can't cook, learn. And no, it won't take forever. Learn some basic cooking techniques. For meats, there's a million ways to prepare them. If you go to my personal Instagram, there's actually some featured stories that show, I believe it's called like fasting foods, and it shows you the way I cook my meals. They're always super easy. It's usually less than $10 for my daily food costs. And then usually my meals take less than 20 minutes to cook. I do a 1 meal a day type fasting protocol just because I like to condense all of my activities and have a singular mindset focus on everything, to where my eating window is about, this includes prep and cleanup. Eating window is about an hour or so. I'll extend that. I eat mountains of meat every single night, so it'll take me hours to eat it, but I'm doing other things in the meantime. I'm studying, or I'm listening to something, or I'm enhancing my skill set, watching instructional YouTube videos as I'm eating. So make sure that you're optimizing your time here is kind of my approach to the diet nutrition thing. Same thing with the gym for me. I'm usually in there no more than 20 minutes minimum, 40 minutes max. I do more of a HIIT style type training, which is high intensity interval training, more volume on the weights, less rest time, and high volume. So 40 minutes max in the gym, plus my commute time there to and from there. I usually live really close to the gym, and if I don't, I'll just sign up for whatever gym's closest to me. So that's an hour time block for me in the gym. Hour time block gym, hour time block for cooking and eating for the day. So I believe that's one of the points here, that I don't have enough time. That's bullshit. You definitely have enough time. You just have to be a little strategic with your time management, and then start to create habits for your body, because it's hard to go from eating 5 to 6 meals a day to 1 meal a day type protocol. There's some things you have to do to train your body to do that. And I will cover fasting topics because I am an avid faster. And I even do extended fast for more kind of like your spiritual, transcendental benefits there too. So yeah, eating clean is bland and boring. Your friend here are seasonings and homemade sauces. I Here's one that I always give as advice to guys in like the private men's forums. So I highly recommend mixing powdered ranch with avocado. Again, guys, if my approach is since my diet is based in meat or animal protein, you want to go lower on the fat for the protein. So like your 99% ground turkey, ground beef, like more of like your flank type steaks. You want to go on your leaner meats, shrimp, white fish, white pork is the other lean meat, chicken breast. So you want to go meats with lower fats, but you do want some fat in your diet. So I'll get it from, I eat a lot of avocados, for example. So mixing powdered ranch with avocado. If you need it to be more of like a sauce type consistency, you can put like a little bit of almond milk in it or water, and then just blend it up, throw it in a food processor until you get the desired consistency. And it's actually really good. It'll become your new best friend. Of course, there's all sorts of other homemade sauces and seasonings I use. So that's just one trick that I normally use as a go-to. Um, but in reality, guys, like especially if you're cooking meat, and I'm a huge fan of like the steak and egg diets. If you're new to like ketogenic type diet protocols, just do like a 30-day steak and egg diets. It's super easy, and then just you'll learn to use salt and pepper, and that's really all you need for a good piece of steak or a good piece of red meat. So there's a meme here. It's a big old burly bodybuilder type. Plain chicken and rice again, my favorite. So, and yeah, this poor guy's face. I've seen plenty of bodybuilders like this too. Just this look on their face, like, oh God, like same shit. So guys, you lack creativity if you're getting into this area where you're just like, oh, same food. You can vary up your protein sources. You can vary up your carb sources. You can vary up your fat sources. And if you remember anything from basic arithmetic in elementary school, if you have 5 socks, 4 shirts, 3 pairs of pants, and 7 pairs of shoes, well, you can get a lot of combinations out of that. So that's what you want to do with your foods too. Just say no to bland meat is the caption on the photo. And sure, guys, eating baked chicken breasts every day, it definitely sucks ass. I've done it. Actually, what I'll do a lot of times, I'll find a recipe of food that is normally unhealthy. Like I'm a huge fan of chicken fried steak. So I'll find if chicken breast is on sale. I will buy a whole week's worth, and then I will practice making the same meal day in and day out to perfect my recipe. And yeah, guys, you can do chicken fried steak. In fact, I think that's what I have thawing out to cook tonight. So I'll do that. I'll probably go more like a ketogenic route. So I'll take the chicken breast, I'll chop it up, or I'll cut it up into like more kind of like pork chop type steaks, like the thinner, they call it in Spanish like milanesa. So like you're more like kind of filet style, like your thinner filet style. I'll bread it in egg white and do something like an almond flour or a coconut flour. They have apple flours, and then maybe a little bit of panko breadcrumbs, although I'll go lighter carbs. And then for gravy, and again, this will all fit my macros. I'll teach you guys how to track all of this stuff. For gravy, I'll get like a McCormick, like low salt, low fat, low everything. And then instead of using milk, I'll use water. So normally that's 160 calories, I believe it comes out to for 2 cups of gravy. And then the chicken breast, it's whatever the chicken breast is, plus the almond flour, which gives you some fat in your diet, but it's a good source of fat. So it's almond. And I will eat 2 pounds of that tonight, and I will be very, very full. And afterwards, I think I have some protein pancakes. I take a single serving of that. That's 190 calories, 30 carbs, 14 grams of protein. I use almond milk, so you can actually take a bit of that off. And I'll use more milk and then make them really, really, really thin. So they're like crepes. So serving sizes like 3 just regular pancake sizes. I can extend that into 6 crepes. I'll throw some sugar-free maple syrup on it, which is 15 calories per 2 tablespoons, I believe. So I'll go ahead and go to town on that. Maybe some sugar-free marmalade, which is like nothing calorically. And then that's my dessert. All of that will put me well into a giant deficit. So I'll lose about a third pound of body fat today. That's how I calculated today. So guys, you can do this again. Follow the channel, subscribe to me. I will start diving into more of the science of how to do this. There's a lot of math involved, but I've built like weight loss and fat loss calculators and trackers too that I'll start sharing with you guys. I just have to make sure that they're built out correctly, because I'd hate to have miscalculations going out and end up my guys or my followers and end up fat instead of fit. That would be contrary to the entire purpose of the Fat to Fit series that I'm trying to get going here. So eating bland chicken breast, yep, definitely would suck ass. But I went no, because I have more than one neuron to rub together. You can tell I was a little snarky when I wrote this back in the day. So yes, you'll get sick of eating the same old shit day in and day out if you don't get adventurous. Fortunately, the risk of boring and bland food will force you to experiment with your preparation methods. And for me, that's actually the funnest part of the journey, or the most fun part of the journey. I often do buy the same ingredients as I mentioned on multiple days in a row and end up with completely different dishes. When I have company, I'll actually prepare traditional non-healthy dishes with my muscle optimizing substitutions and in my macro nutrient ratios. And most of my guests never notice that it's a healthy version of their favorite dish. Keto pork chops with pork rind breading, cauliflower mash, and psyllium husk gravy taste exactly like the real thing with a bit of practice. Now, once your body gets used to digesting real food, you'll actually be surprised at how disgusting you feel when you do slip up and eat what normal people eat, or what I like to call in the fitness space, they call it SAD, which is the standard American diet. So, again, if you want to know what a standard American diet will get you, well, it will get you a standard American physique. And if you don't know what that looks like, go out in public and look around. It is truly sad, appropriately as the acronym leads you to believe. So that leads us to diet lie number 4. Meal planning and prepping is too kind. I'm dyslexic today, apparently. Meal planning and prepping is too time consuming. So now that you've decided to not be lazy, you'll need to prepare your own food. Aside from not being expensive, it's also not time consuming. Again, unless you don't know how to manage your time correctly. Here's one here, from Jim Memes Official. Meal prep, it's just a giant hunk of beef slapped over the entire width of the grill. And you know what? I've actually seen meals like that, and I don't quite mind them, especially if I'm on keto. Um, a lot of times, if I live in places that are like have plentiful barbecue, so anyone in the U.S. South, when I lived in Houston, I would get 2 pounds of brisket a day, and then just call it a day. It was keto. I was on the steak and eggs diet. I expanded that eventually to include like all sorts of like animal protein sources, but yeah, you can do a couple pounds of barbecue. Stay away from the biscuits. Stay away from the gravy. Stay away from the mac and cheese. Stay away from all the breads and all that stuff, and just stick to your meat. And you can eat a lot of meat and be very full very fast, and still have a ton of calories left over in what you need energy wise for the day. Thus, putting you in a deficit, especially with lack of carbs, you're going to lose the fat a lot faster. But your muscle might get a bit flat. So, guys on keto, yeah, learn to love your meats. And the caption here, so yeah, giant slab of beef on the grill, meal prep done right is the caption. So when you're planning meals, guys, always use protein as a base. You always want to make sure you hit your protein minimum. I have my protein minimum and then ideal what it is for bodybuilders, and then I fall within that range. So I'm not completely perfect with my diet, but I give myself what I call a lot of headroom in the diet. To where if I do go over or if I do miscalculate, I'm in such a deficit that I'll still end up in a deficit, even if I'm off by a margin of like 10-15%. And sometimes I do get off, like when you try to calculate sauces or like prepackaged stuff, or like if you make I made last Sunday a giant pot of chili and then realized, oh, I don't know how to calculate this. Although really the giant pot of chili ended up being 150 ounces total. So I just added up all of everything I used to cook that pot of chili, divided it by 10, which makes it divisible by 0. It's super easy. And then every bowl was just shy of a pound. I sprinkled an ounce of cheese on it and then got my serving, and then I ate that for the entire week, and it put me right where I needed to be for the day. So guys, you can meal prep. You can cook a giant vat of chili. You can bake all your chicken breasts on a Sunday and then dice it up and then create your sauces as needed during the week. You can do salads. You can do all sorts of stuff, guys. So you got to start getting creative. But when you're planning your meals, yes, always use your protein as a base. I seriously can't overstate taking advantage of your local meat specials. Experiment once more with different spices, vegetables, homemade sauces to add some flavor to your animal protein base. And since you should only be eating one meal a day, that's what I recommend, which personally works best for me. I'll do a video topic in terms of like the different meal timing protocols that are common and the benefits and cons of each of those. But typically I'm one meal a day. During the holidays, I was doing multiple meals a day. Yeah, got a little fat, got a little pudgy. I was eating snacks and sweets and all that shit. But now I'm back to one meal a day. There are benefits of that. For me, it's not even the physique so much. I like the mental clarity and focus benefits that I get from the one meal a day eating protocol. And then also you don't have to cook that often. Calculate the time it takes you to think about eating, either cooking food or procuring food, eating that food, cleaning up that food, and then the time that it takes to task switch back to being in a productive and focused mindset. So when I'm in a fast, the further I'm into a fast, the more focus and mental clarity I have. So I'll do like multiple day fast too. which you have to work yourself up to that point. Your body's not going to like you that much if you go from eating multiple meals a day to not eating for 3 days. You can do it. Kudos to you if you're a champ and can do it. But typically, if you want to go the fasting route, then I'll suggest like an 8-hour eating window, maybe a 6-hour eating window, 4-hour eating window, 2-hour eating window, 1 hour, or one meal a day. Then you can go 36 hours without eating. You can go 48 hours without eating, up to 72 hours. I think the longest I've done is like 5 days, and typically after that, I don't like to go much longer. Between day 3 and 5 of not eating, you get spiritual benefits, and then after that, you'll go into what's called the catabolic state, and you actually go in there a lot sooner, but you do have some muscle sparing benefits of increased HGH when you're doing extended fast. But after day 5, I feel catabolic, and the spiritual benefits are gone. I'm just miserable. So I haven't fasted over 5 days, but I got a little sidetracked there. I will cover the fasting topic in future videos. I know plenty of guys ask me about that and what my eating protocol looks like. And again, to second fasting, compare this to preparing multiple meals a day, or even heating something prepackaged. Again, for me, it's all mental benefits. It's all, and it's time saving and cost saving benefits too. I routinely track my meal prep time and can even make more complex cuisine in less than an hour tops. Be sure to invest in good cast iron pan or electric skillet. And then recently, they weren't around, or they weren't that popular when I published this a couple of years ago, but air fryers. You can get that nice crispy texture without having to cook with your seed oils, or like any sort of like your butters or your ghees or your fats. So that means you can replace them with sauces, which again, I like peanut butters, nut butters, cashew butters, almond butters, everything butters that I'll put on like keto friendly French toast or protein pancakes or something like that to get the fat requirements I need in my diet, or the avocado or coconut based sauces. They all work. If you prefer to keep or prep a week's worth of meals at once, pre-cook your protein all at once. Throwing a shit ton of chicken on a baking sheet or slow cooking a crock pot of pork tenderloin literally takes no time at all. And then you're set for the entire week. Now, imagine all the fun things you can do with the extra time you've learned to save yourself by planning and prepping your meals appropriately. And the last one, and again, guys, there's going to be more diet lies and fat loss lies that I failed to cover, so leave them in the comments if you haven't done so already. I'll address questions here as I wrap this up, but diet lie number 5. Your body will go into starvation mode if you don't eat often. So it looks like I piggybacked on the one meal a day or the fasting topic. And with reason. This is my all-time favorite bullshit lie promoted by weak-minded and food-addicted individuals. Are you able to grab a handful of fat on your body? I'm leaning up. I don't have much, but I got a little bit. But if you can grab fat on your body, that's energy. That's literally stored energy. That's all fat is stored energy. So learn to deal with this mindset shift that, especially this guy in the picture, for my audio only listeners, it's a very plump and rotund man in a green shirt and a looks like not a 4-leaf clover, a 3-leaf clover on his hat. So it's probably something like St. Patty's Day. And the shirt says, "I beat anorexia." However, the man is quite wide, has not even a double chin. His chin just turns into like a neck that goes straight into his chest. So this man is very fat. He's very overweight. All of that, again, it's not a judgment call saying this man is less than because he's fat. I'm looking at this man and saying, okay, wow, he has a lot of stored energy on his body. He probably has at least a couple pounds of fat just on his chin alone, which for me, I'll teach you guys how to calculate in future videos, but it's called the total daily expenditure of energy. That's the energy you need, which is your base metabolic rate, plus taking into account any physical activity you do. Tomorrow, I'll be covering how to receive and read and interpret the results of a DEXA scan. Usually, if you get a DEXA scan, you can actually request that they calculate your base metabolic rate, your resting metabolic rate, and they will attempt to, based on your body fat percentages and lean muscle mass, to a relative high degree of accuracy. Now, nothing's ever 100% accurate, but relatively close. They will give you what's called your TDEE, which again is your totally daily expenditure of energy. So mine is about 3,300 calories when I'm in maintenance mode. A pound of body fat is 3,500 calories. So for me, I can look on my body and see like, oh, there's probably a pound of fat there. My DEXA scan will show, oh, you have a pound of fat on your arm. So, okay, I have 1 day's worth of energy on my left arm, 1 day's worth of energy on my right arm. In the midsection, usually a couple days worth of energy. So learn to think in these terms. This guy in the photo, he's got a couple days worth of energy just right here on his chin. So you're not going to starve, especially if you're obese. That is a lie. you have plenty of energy on your body. You're going to be all right. I do recommend, if you do want to go into like a crazy caloric deficit, do make sure that you keep nutrition in mind. So you want to be hitting like your daily like nutrient goals. People that do like longer term fasting, usually you want to replace your or replenish your electrolytes. So I use sugar free Gatorade packets, and then I just put them in my bottles of water. One packet goes in a bottle of water. Keep a bunch of these guys cold. Every time you go for a water, pour a packet in, shake it up. There's your electrolytes. Or a lot of guys when they're fasting, they'll do like bouillon, like bouillon soup stock. So that all works for you too. But there's very few considerations you have to take into place, but there are some. So I can tell you how often fat people look at me with a straight face and feed me this garbage. I don't want to starve, like especially when you're like really noticeably obese. Why would you think you wouldn't have energy when you can look in the mirror and literally see energy hanging from your frame in the form of fat? And guys, if you remember from the beginning of the video, fat it's just excess energy. It's energy that's converted into adipose tissue. So when you can grab fat on your body, that's just energy stores. So learn to think that way. It'll help you get over kind of some of like the I'm fat stigma too. And really, for me in my head, I don't eat for pleasure anymore. Although I do at least once a week. I always do a refeed or a cheat day on Sunday. And I did a cheat day this last Sunday. I had a whole pizza, a whole thing of cookie dough, a giant pot of beef stew, and then some of the protein pancakes. So I cheated during the first half of the day, and then the second half of the day I had my regular eating plan. But that does all sorts of stuff. It spikes your insulin to the roof, and then the next few days I fast, and I actually end up losing a pound or two of body fat between Sunday and Wednesday, typically is my goal. But again, I'm a little more advanced here. I've calculated all this out. I know how my body works, and I have weight loss and fat loss calculators that I've built. Now I just kind of know by second nature because I've done it for so long. But again, over the next few days, weeks, months, whatever, and some of my premium courses, once they get going, I will refine all of these. They'll become part of a program, and then you'll have access to all this stuff too. So definitely follow me if you haven't done so already, or subscribe to the channel. Furthermore, guys, there are biological benefits that I've mentioned earlier when it comes to fasting, especially a more prolonged fast, like increased HGH production, which HGH is human growth hormone. That's what all the old school guys like Arnold or Stallone take to look still jacked and fit, like in their 70s and God, even 80s. Some of them are doing it. Cellular waste removal and repair via autophagy and the laser-like focus, which I do it mostly for the focus. They're undeniable when you learn how to do the fasting type protocol. So you're not going to starve. Now, if you're not used to eating once a day, you may feel a bit weak at first. Combine that with keto, and you may even feel a bit ill, which is known appropriately as the keto flu. But there's no need to worry. This is just your body withdrawing from all the bullshit you've been feeding it. Remember, being fat is a food addiction, so you're going to go through withdrawals, especially when you change. Your body likes to stay in homeostasis. So when you change anything at all, whether it be drugs, whether it be alcohol, whether it be cigarettes, whether it be weed, or it be food, especially if you eat like a lot of carbs or sugar, your insulin's you're gonna have insulin spikes and dips. Well, if you all of a sudden stop doing that, your body's not going to like you too much. So you will feel a bit ill, especially if you're going into keto for the first time. You will get a keto flu, but however, the more your body gets accustomed to going in and out of ketogenesis, then the less flu-like symptoms you'll have when you do it. And eventually you become fat adapted, which is essentially training your body from a biological level of how to burn its own body fat as an energy source rather than glucose in your bloodstream, which you get from carbohydrates, which is why if you're really, really, really fat, I usually advise a lower carbohydrate or even ketogenic type diet. So would you tell an alcoholic to not stop drinking because the withdrawal sucks? No, that's just stupid. Once you get through these initial few days of not feeling well, you will be glad you did. And once more, your body may even become fat adapted, which is a nice place to be in. I've been on the OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, once more protocol for 3 years now, and have never had an issue with gym performance, getting quality sleep, or having energy throughout the day. And at time of publishing, that was 3 years. God, I'm going on 6 or 7 years doing the 1 meal a day. And again, that's not every day. I like to have a social life too. So normally my weekends, I go on extreme caloric deficits during the week. I hit all of my minimum, or I fall within range of my minimum and maximum protein that I need always during the week. And then based on what kind of workload I'm doing in the gym, I'll fill in the rest with fat or carbs, or based on, do I want to lose body fat this week, or do I want to just lose weight but keep my muscle fullness? Then I'll calculate the body fat or the fat and carbs in relation to each other. But I normally have such a huge deficit that on the weekends I can eat as much as I want. And since my body's used to eating less, then I don't normally track my cheat days anymore. However, I kind of have a mental tally and know where I'm at. So on Sunday, I had about 7,000 calories, which is twice as much as I need. So I gained a pound of body fat hypothetically on Sunday. However, over the next 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll go in more than 1,000 calorie deficit, which takes that pound of fat that was accumulated hypothetically on Sunday. It's all an energy calculation. It offsets that, but also because I spiked my metabolism so much, and then I'm going into like a prolonged fast, so my metabolism is still revved up, and my HGH revs up. Then usually by Wednesday, I'm looking and feeling pretty good. I get what's called the whoosh effect with fat loss, where you'll be bloat, 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 and then all of a sudden you do something to manipulate your diet, jack up your metabolism, or even you'll get bloated a bit, hold for a couple days, and then all the water and all the extra lipids, triglycerides, all that stuff, you just literally just whooshes out of you. When I go into future videos and show you, I have a fat loss tracker, and I actually have a trend line on there, which is important because if you weigh yourself every day at the same time every day, you'll see that some days you'll go up, even though your diet's consistent. You'll have days where you go up, down, all around, but over the prolonged period, you want your fat loss to be consistent. So I always use a trend line and then track my fat loss over a longer term period. For like weight loss or fat loss trackers. And once more, I've done more prolonged fast, 40 to 72 hours, or usually the norm for the euphoria, focus, and regenerative feeling. That actually ends up becoming addicting. The longer fasts, if you do them enough and get your body used to it, and your mind too. Again, after like day 3 or so, you start getting spiritual benefits. It's much more addicting than a quick sugar fix. So that'll start wrapping up the article. In summation, stop following diet lies. There you have it. You need to ignore these things right now, especially these top 5 diet lies. Wow, I cannot speak right now. So the next time you hear something so clearly stupid, look at the person giving you the advice. Guys, if you remember Austin Powers, I believe it was the spy who shagged me. God, I'm dating myself. We have Fat Bastard right here. And the caption of the meme says, "Hi, I'm your personal trainer." Guys, I've seen a lot of fat trainers too. Let's be honest. So definitely, if you're gonna get advice from someone, get advice from someone who knows what they are doing. And I say in the caption here for the Fat Bastard photo, can't wait to hear his diet advice. So, what does that person look like? Do you want to look like them, or would you rather be lean, mean, muscled, and a machine just all around? So when it comes to dieting, things really aren't as difficult as they seem to be once you start educating yourself, changing some of your lifestyle habits, developing a new mindset, and learning how these things work, how to actually build and construct a diet, and how that translates to your body composition over a consistent long-term basis. Once you start sifting through the bullshit and ignoring these types of diet lies that keep you fat forever, well, you'll find pretty quickly you're going to start becoming more on the fit side, which is the entire goal of this channel, amongst other goals, and more specifically, my Fat to Fit series. So, damn, that already put me at over 45 minutes. I sure as shit can talk. So now we shall go to the comments. So first one, Joe Smith. People say eat 5 to 6 small meals a day, and some people just say 3 meals a day, and then people do intermittent fasting. What's the real answer to losing fat and just building basic muscle? Okay, so is that here? Let me get this back on full screen. So there's actually a couple of questions in there. I covered the 5 to 6 small meals a day. I'd say for usually building muscle, you want to go 5 to 6 meals a day. You kind of want to space them out. That's because you'll be going higher carbohydrate, lower dietary fat, and then a moderate or higher level of protein. So it really depends on your goals. I'd say if you want to lose fat and build muscle, probably start with the 5 to 6 smaller meals a day. That's more of a typical bodybuilding type approach. However, and you'll have to calculate your macros too. So I will do that in a future video. I need to remember the actual math behind it because for me, it's all my head. Like you'll notice, guys, when you track that a lot of your meals end up being exactly the same. So it's really okay. Pound and a half of shrimp, 3 protein pancakes, or 10 slices of keto bread for low carb French toast, or 6 rice cakes. Like for me, like my meals are components, so I just build them together. So I need to go back and actually review the math to make sure I'm giving you the right math figures and how to calculate. It's been years since I've done it myself, since I just kind of trained myself to do it that way. But typically it depends on your macronutrient breakdown, what you need calorically for the day. However, if you want to build muscle, what you normally need to do is be in a slight caloric surplus. If you want to build muscle and lose fat, I'd say do a slight surplus, not a huge surplus. So, for example, my TDEE, which is total daily expenditure of energy, is 3,300. If I want to bulk, maybe I'll add 3 to 500 calories as a surplus to do that, and then make sure that I'm doing it with clean calories. Now, if I want to get really big, really fast, then I'll go in a huge surplus, maybe like 1,000 calories a day. But you can bet I'm going to put on a lot of body fat too. And actually, when I bulk that way, I normally put on a pound of lean muscle per pound of body fat, which means I have to cut afterwards. And I don't like cutting much. So typically I'll do what's called like a reverse dieting. Start to pyramid up into a slight caloric surplus. I'm normally in a deficit through maintenance with, again, my carb refeed meals or my cheat days, which kind of offset it. And that just keeps me lean all year round. But it depends on your goals. Sounds like your goals are to build basic muscle and lose fat. So yeah, I'd recommend probably starting out 5 to 6 small meals a day. Depending upon what you need calorically, let's say anywhere from 300 to 500 calories. Let's just assume as a safe number, you need like 3,000 calories a day, but it depends. I need to know like your height, your weight, your body fat percentage, and we'll cover all this stuff tomorrow when I go into how to read a DEXA scan and how to measure your body fat. Because these numbers don't mean much if you don't have a baseline or if you don't know what you measure out to be, and then ideally where you want to go. So yeah, my apologies. It's kind of a non-answer, but there's a lot of questions in there, and there's a lot of considerations to take into place. And you already heard me do my spiel on intermittent fasting. For me, I like that for maintenance. However, when I'm bulking, I typically do 5 to 6 small meals a day, and that's because I don't want my insulin levels, because I normally do lower carb for maintenance, but for bulking you need higher carb. So I don't like my blood insulin levels doing this. I don't like them going up and down. It's kind of the same thing, guys, like when you're drinking and people are like, oh man, I drank so much last night and I wasn't hungover. Well, you can do that because what makes you hungover, what makes you get sick, is the sudden increase or decrease in blood alcohol content. If you start drinking a beer at 10 a.m. and you pace yourself at a beer and a half all day, and you slowly, gradually bring it up to your blood alcohol concentration levels, and then you slowly come down on the tail end, yeah, you can get away with drinking a ton and not feel sick at all the next day. But if you drink those same 14 beers, so let's say you drink like 15 beers over the course of 10 hours. Okay, like you got a good buzz going, but you probably won't feel as sick than if you were to take 15 shots in the course of 5 minutes. You're going to be very sick very fast, and you're going to feel it tomorrow. In fact, you might end up in the hospital. So it's kind of the same thing with like your blood insulin levels. You don't want to have the peaks and valleys and the spikes. If you do, you can do it after you work out. That's where you have like what guys in the bodybuilding space call your anabolic window. But usually you want to keep your blood levels stable. And I do the same thing like with my TRT, my HRT, any supplements I put in my body. I like the levels to be optimal and stable. So again, depends on your goals. I'd say building basic muscle. Yeah, do your 5 to 6 small meals a day. You'll need to learn what you need energy wise to be in a slight surplus for that. And then keep your nutrition clean. Typically, I'd have to see photos of you too, because like I'm the type of guy I can bulk on what I call a 2 to 1 carbohydrate to protein ratio. However, like guys that have smaller statures or smaller physiques naturally, they'll go up to like a 4 to 1 or a 5 to 1 carbohydrate to protein ratio. So, well, I'll definitely cover those in other videos. And if you need to, on the scrolling ticker there, reach out to me directly, and we can go into this stuff. Another one from Joe. Also, what food should we be eating and what should we avoid? Is rice and potatoes bad? Do we actually need carbs in starchy form? Or can we just live on meat and vegetables and fruits every day? Oh, once more. Yeah. I see why people get confused in fitness. There are so many questions in there and so many like individual standalone videos I could do just from that one question. So let me try to cover it all. Generally eating wise, guys, you want carb wise, you want, and I'll do video topics on all these, I swear. So you want what's called complex carbs. That's more of your starchy carbs. So potatoes are a good complex carb source. Any of like your beans, your legumes, any of like your whole wheats, whole grains are good. As a general rule, if the browner it is, then the more complex carb it is, and the whiter it is, especially like white rice, white bread, any sort of like white pastries, that's because all the nutrition and the actual fiber has been blanched from it. So what that is essentially you're just putting pure sugar in your body, or pure glucose is how your body sees it. So that's the difference between complex and simple carbs. We'll just use the example of white bread versus wheat bread. So white bread, all of the nutrition, all the fibers been blanched from it. So you're just taking in pure carbohydrates. There's nothing, fiber and dietary fat helps slow down digestion. But when you remove those things, so example, like if you eat like a gummy bear or something, that's pure sugar. It's just going to spike your insulin instantly. It's not necessarily good or bad. I like to do a simple carb source after I lift, or even maybe before I lift. because again, like once you break down your muscle fibers or your muscle tissue, your body is in what's called a prime anabolic state, or your anabolic window, to where you actually want something like white rice or like a white bread to jack up your insulin, and you want the protein with it too, because it shuttles those nutrients into your damaged cells. That's usually the only time I do that. Again, guys, typically I'm lower carbs. So when I do eat carbs, it's either before or after a workout. For these next couple of weeks, I'm trying to hold muscle mass while leaning down body fat wise. So I'm doing workouts entirely fasted. And then at the end of the night, I'm doing a lower carb approach. I will eat some carbs, but I only eat enough carbs to offset the glycogen I dipped into previous in the day in my workout. So yeah, you actually do need carbs. You do need some carbs. That's why ketogenesis works to lose fat fast. However, I usually feel kind of crappy on it, so I go a low carb approach. So I'll go like anywhere from like 50 to 100 carbs if I'm really focused on just losing fat. Again, carbs, yeah, the good versus bad thing, it really depends on what you're doing. But typically for me, like maintenance. So for example, I worked out I worked out 8 hours ago today. So I'm probably not still in that post-workout anabolic window. So tonight I'm going to do starchier carbs. I'm gonna do some sort of air fried chicken, and then I'll do potatoes, and then I'll do a homemade sauce. I'm not sure what kind of sauce I'll do. I'll probably do like an old country gravy. Buy it in the sauce pack. It'll be 160 calories. The chicken will be, I think, less than 1,000 calories for just shy of 200 grams of protein. Whatever the breading is, that's negligible. And then the potatoes, couple hundred calories, and then less than 100 carbs for, I believe, I have 8 to 12 ounces calculated. I have to look at my diet log and see. So again, it really depends. You can live on meat and vegetables. You're absolutely fine with that. Fruits, be careful of fruits. God, again, this could be a whole standalone video, so I could like actually break down the science behind it, because it's been so long since I've done the research. But I'll speak in generalities here. For fruits, fruits, you can't really do much with them, and fruits are actually sugar. A lot of people don't realize this. So I was obese years and years ago. And I never knew why. I'm like, well, I eat fruit all day long. I'm healthy. I grew up on a farm, and we had a ton of fruit. We keep it in cold storage, and we jelly and jam it and all that shit. And so like our main cash crop was cherries. So we had a lot of surplus cherries, and all throughout the year, I just pop cherries in my mouth and thought, well, how am I fat? I'm eating all this fruit, and fruit's healthy, right? Like fruit is healthy. It has vitamins and nutrients and all sorts of good stuff in it. However, it is pure sugar. So you don't want to do pure sugar, and more specifically, there's different types of sugar. If you guys want to get even more confused for you newbies to these topics, it is fructose. So there's only so much your body can do with fructose. It usually gets stored in your liver, and then over a certain amount, your liver can't do anything else with it. So it won't get stored as glycogen or circulate around your bloodstream. It just spills over straight into fat. So you have to be very, very careful with fructose, or the word fructose, I think probably appropriately comes from the word fruit. So be careful. A lot of people that do like your fruit juices, that's even worse for you, like your orange juices, your apple juices that are full sugar, because you remove all the fiber from it. So now you're literally just taking in pure sugar in liquid form, and that will make you fat. So a lot of people don't realize that. It'll say on the orange juice bottles, oh, 100% organic, or, California or Florida oranges, organic, certified, healthy, heart health, all this. But what they don't tell you is it's pure sugar. So you want to stay away from sugar in general. Sugar is not friend. Sugar is not your friend if you want to be lean. Let's just say that. Now, if you want to become fat, so I always use this when like more kind of obese clients come in. They say, "Oh, I need to lose weight." I'm like, "Well, first first I'm going to teach you how you gained all the weight." Like for me, if I want to get really fat really fast, then I do high carb, pure sugar, which would be liquid sugar. It would be full sugar sodas. It would be juices. It would be little to no protein, and it would be very unhealthy fats, like trans fats, saturated fats. That's where like the myth of like the red meat type thing, like, okay, you're eating ribeye every day and then slamming orange juice all day long. Yeah, you're gonna have heart problems, because that's that's a terrible combination for you. Pretty much I'm looking for a diet and exercise plan. So much information out there, yet very confusing on what is legitimate. Yeah, I agree, and I probably didn't help you out there. I probably led to more confusion, but like I said, go ahead and follow me. Reach out to me. I'll turn these into show topics, or if you want to do one-on-one coaching, we can dive into this stuff real quick. It's hard to say in generalities, because it really depends on your height, your weight, your current lean body mass, your body fat percentage, your goals, your experience in the gym, And then obviously I want to create diets that you're going to stick to. So in term budget comes into consideration, how close you are to like healthy grocery stores, how close you are to a gym, and then creating time management skills to make sure your diet fits into your daily routine. So there's even more factors to complicate it more, but I swear I am working on putting together a program to where we can create diet plans that are fun, fast, and flexible and fit your lifestyle and your goals. That's my entire mission here. So let's see. Yep, if you could hit those three questions, that'd be great. And I would appreciate your videos have been very helpful. Yep, I definitely appreciate that. So, George Orwell, what's up, gents? Hey, hey, how are you doing? I'm confused. Never mix fat with carbs. So whether it's coconut oil or olive oil, I should never mix it with a potato. I thought you need fat in your diet. Yeah, you do need fat in your diet. So when I say don't mix fat with carbs, I'm talking about like pizza and donuts. So don't mix high fat with high carb. Let's go ahead and clarify that. So yeah, I'll have to do another video on this as far as like actually how to plan your meals. So let's say, for example, you have let's say you have like 6 ounces of steak, 6 ounces of potatoes. You don't want to do super, super high fat. If you do, that's okay. Like it could be balanced. God, yeah, I'm gonna confuse you more. So there's 4.5 calories per gram of protein and 4.5 calories per gram of carb. There's 9 calories per gram of fat. So usually you can look at your plate and see. So if you have lean meat, like 99% lean ground beef, and you put it next to a lump of mashed potatoes or rice, and it looks about the same portion wise, equal height on your plate, then those are the same. Because again, there's no, we're assuming like 99% lean meat, so you can assume it's pretty much with that, except that 1% of fat. It's all protein, and your potatoes, if you cook them yourselves, it's all potatoes. So you can literally see them on your plate and be like, oh, okay. Now, if you want a balanced meal, you'll put a portion of fat on the plate that is half of visually what you see for the portion of meat and potatoes, since the meat and potatoes are equal, and that's because a gram of fat has twice the caloric content as a gram of protein or carbs. So yeah, I know it's going to get really confusing really fast. I'll save it for future videos because I'll do visuals for you guys so you can actually like kind of start to put it together. And for me in my head, I work on visuals too, which makes it a lot easier. So if I don't know what my macronutrient breakdown looks like, I can just look at my plate and be like, okay, well, here it is, and then do the calculations for yourself. So it'll take some getting used to get to that point, but I'll definitely help you guys out. Best times when I fast, like you, to cover more in the future casts. Yep, definitely will. I'll cover more fasting. I have some backlogged articles on it, and then in my men's groups, a lot of guys ask about fasting, and I break them down. What do you do when you cheat? I do my cheat day Sundays, and I felt awful. Yeah, I did a cheat day this last Sunday during the football game, and I normally don't drink either. I think I had 2 or 3 glasses of whiskey too. I felt really good on Monday, which is typically not the case. Typically, I feel like crap on Monday. But what I did this last Sunday, since I'm on the West Coast right now, so the football games were on earlier. I cheated during the first game, and then I didn't eat anything the rest of the day, and then at nighttime I ate my normal meals. So I think that's how I got out of it without being too bad off. Normally, I used to call them cheat days, and I used to legit cheat, like I do like pizza or McDonald's or something nasty. But over the years, I found that I'm cheating less or less. So for me, I'm concerned them more like refeed days. So I'll do something like sushi. I'll do something like Mediterranean type food. Again, not the healthiest, and I'll always go into a surplus on my cheat or my refeed days. But I'm not slamming back McFlurries or like multiple Snickers bars or downing bags of Doritos or anything like that. I will once in a blue moon, but really, well, during the holidays, I ate pretty crappy for a couple of weeks. But typically, the other 11 months of the year, typically my cheat days aren't true cheat days. Let's just say that. And then if I do go overboard, I will feel a bit crappy on Monday. I'll start to have that like carb withdrawal or like kind of a pseudo keto flu. If I feel really guilty, like I've done this before, gone to like Chinese buffets, and then you calculate afterwards, you're like, oh, I probably threw back like 12,000 calories. I'll fast on Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday usually be right back on track, feeling pretty good. So as we go on, guys, I'll teach you how these can all be considered tools in your fat loss and fitness toolkit, and then really based on what you're trying to do in real time, you can go ahead and use different tools here. Rich Cooper was lit last night. Yeah, that was a good show last night. I'm really starting to enjoy that format. I think for now I'm doing kind of longer portions of the content because I'm newer on the channel, but eventually as I grow my following, I'll probably do like a Rich Cooper type format, like spend the first 15-20 minutes like really diving into the topic and then open it up for questions and answers. I think it's quite entertaining. Any tips on increasing appetite? After I quit smoking pot, I have troubles getting all my calories in. Yeah, me too. I still smoke before I eat. So after this, I'll play guitar or actually I'll smoke, play guitar for an hour, and then I'll eat and then fall asleep is normally what I do. So I have the same problem when I'm not smoking weed. It's hard to have an appetite. So I also do OMAD most of the week and have been doing that for years now. Yeah. So as far as increasing appetite, so I would do the opposite of so when someone reaches out and says, "Hey, I'm always hungry. How do I decrease my hunger?" I will tell them, eat foods that have high volume and low caloric density, but high nutrient density. So I eat things like a lot of rice cakes. Popcorn's not the best carb source, but I'll do popcorn because I want to take up volume in my stomach. I will do things like vegetables, like a giant jar of pickles. Pickles are like they're like 5 calories per pickle, but once you take in the thermal effective digestion or thermal effective food, pickles I think fall in the category as far that at the end of the day, once you calculate the energy it takes to digest them, it's actually a net negative. So I'll do things like a lot of pickles. So that's the advice I give for if you find yourself hungry after you've eaten quite a bit, is that I say go more volume and lower caloric density. So I'd argue the contrary for increasing appetite. So you want caloric density and also nutrient density. Nutrient density stays the same across the board. So I would do things like your nut butters. I do a lot of rice cakes. So if I'm going lower fat, I'll do like rice cakes. And tonight I'll probably do no, I'm gonna do my protein pancakes tonight. So I'll do like rice cakes and then maybe a sugar-free marmalade or like a sugar-free apple butter or something like that. If I need more calories, then a handful of nuts, like they're nutrient dense and they're fat dense too. So you want to go lower carb, but that'll get your calories up there quite a bit. And then yeah, for increasing appetite, yeah, you'll want to do the opposite, or eating the empty carbs. So like carbs do something really fun. They'll give you like a carb addiction because your insulin spikes when you eat carbs, and then subsequently when your insulin falls afterwards. That's when you start to get the withdrawal symptoms. It's the same as like drinking or smoking or any of that stuff, and that's when you're likely to eat more carbs. That's how a lot of people get fat. They get on that vicious carb cycle. So I'd recommend eating maybe more carbs too with lower fat to see if that stimulates your appetite a bit more. But yeah, really you'll have to play around and see what works for you. So the recommendation would be more calorically dense foods, maintaining nutrient density, or eating more of kind of your empty carbs to kickstart the appetite and then fill it in with what you normally do on your diet. Every morning, I eat a half cup of oat bran with a banana, and I'm full. Yeah, that'll fill you up. Oat brands that falls in the complex carb category, and banana has plenty of fiber. It does have some sugar; it's fructose, but no, it's not too bad. I think a banana is like 50, 60, 70, 80 calories up to 100, depending upon the size of the banana. That's what she said. But yeah, that's a good satiating meal. That's a meal that will fill you up. I'd probably recommend getting some protein in there too. So maybe some egg whites or maybe like just a like standalone protein shake on the side or something like that because yeah, that's carb heavy, that's lower fat, but for going back to your original question of lean muscle mass and fat loss, you'll want some protein with your carbs at all times. So typically, again, for me, I have what's called an endomorphic body type. So that means my body likes to hold mass, and my body loves to put on fat if I give it if I create the right nutrient environment to allow it to do so, or the correct caloric environment to allow it to do so. So typically, I'll do like a 2-to-1 carb ratio. So half cup of oat bran. Okay, that's not a lot of food. So yeah, I'd say probably try to get in like 20-25 grams of protein, maybe with that. And then again, once you start tracking, you'll be able to see visually your macronutrient ratios, and you'll want to dial that in. And let's see, one more. I don't eat until 12. I stop eating at 8 p.m. Yeah, that's a good starting point. For guys that are new to intermittent fasting, I recommend starting with like an 8-hour eating window. So that's 16 hours not eating, 8 hours of eating. That's a great place to start. If you want to get further into intermittent fasting, then you start reducing those eating windows. You can go 6 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. So I always say that I do one meal a day in 1 hour, but realistically, it takes me multiple hours to eat. It's just that 1 hour in terms of calculating the meal, prepping the meal, cooking the meal, and cleaning up the meal. And then I spend the rest of the night. Like I said, I do smoke weed before I eat and feast on my one meal a day, because normally I eat a pound and a half to 2 pounds of meat, and then I separate my meat from my carbs, and then whatever carbs are left, I'll do it. I get a sweet tooth, so I'll do like my Jello-free puddings with sugar-free granola. I'll do my keto-friendly French toast with sugar-free syrup and sugar-free marmalade. I'll do my protein pancakes. So really, I get in all of my meat, or I get in all my protein and nutrition first. I call it like meat mountain. So I'll do like a pound and a half to 2 pounds of meat, depending upon what it is and the fat content in the meat. So like a pound and a half of shrimp has like no fat and no carbs. I believe it's 160 grams of protein, which hits me right at my minimum. I'm usually 200 pounds. If you times that by the 0.82 minimum maintenance for muscle of protein intake, that puts me right at that 2 pounds of shrimp. It's usually a couple hundred calories shy of 1,000 calories, and that leaves me a lot of room left in my diet to fill it in with carbs or fat or whatever I want. And then it's just a question of filling it in with good carbs, which is why I recommend like your sugar-free Jello puddings with sugar-free granola, sugar-free cereals with almond milk and stevia as a sweetener is a good one too to fill in your carbs. Your low carb or your nutrient dense breads like your wheat breads, and then cook that with an egg white for French toast, little stevia, a little cinnamon, and then use sugar-free marmalade or sugar-free syrup for that. So guys, there's all sorts of tricks you can do there. And I have an article I wrote actually in Rich's group. It's called Managing Munchies, for like guys that like smoking weed but also like to be fit. So I'll turn that into a video too. I have to pull that out and organize it. Maybe I'll do like a slide deck or something for that. But that'll help give you an idea of how to get away eating a lot and eating well without getting too terribly fat. So yep, the 8-hour eating window, I think that's definitely a great place to start if you're into intermittent fasting or one meal a day type eating protocols. And then you'll start getting addicted to it. Like anything in life, you'll want to start pushing the envelope, see what sort of progress you can make when it comes to the restricted eating type protocols. And then again, if you do the multiple day fast, after a couple days, you start entering into like spiritual type benefits, which is awesome. For at this point in my channel, I'm going to focus on like the physique, the dating. We'll start getting like more finances and stuff. But at some point, you're going to want to start asking like, what's my higher purpose? Why am I on this earth? I'll start getting into like more of those kind of like more transcendental type topics. And with diet, you can control that too. So diet really, truly is nature's medicine. So guys, if you don't have any more questions or comments, it looks like I went through them all. I will go ahead and start wrapping up this video again over the next couple of days. Last week I had a bunch of guests scheduled. This week I have a couple that I'll try to fit in there, but I really want to start focusing more on this fat to fit transformation topic. This is the time of year, especially heading into like February, where like you need to start getting on this stuff if you want to be lean by spring or summertime. So since I'm personally going through it, like this is just what I do this time of year for my physique, for my fitness, then I'll just share it all with you guys. Makes it easy for me, and hopefully you guys get some benefit out of it also. And then come springtime it's usually when my dating life picks up quite a bit. Like I swear to God, Tinder is like, it's like for guys that grew up on a farm, it's like the irrigation pump schedule of the farm I grew up on. So the irrigation pump turns on April 1st, turns off October 1st. That's how Tinder is. So like I'll do more dating topics during like prime dating season, I suppose. But for now, we'll focus on the fat to fit stuff, although plenty of dating topics will come up. See, I got another one, Joe Smith. Even basic breathing techniques and not even thinking about it, but I need something to satiate me. So unfortunately, I need to eat something with carbs. Any techniques on how to sleep with cravings? Ooh. Yeah, I'd say for that, to sleep with cravings, do something to slower digestion. So like a casein protein is a good one. Do something. They sell them prepackaged now, actually. So like get really familiar with cottage cheese. If you don't like the consistency, you can throw it in a food processor with a little bit of almond milk to like kind of smooth it out, give it more like a yogurt type consistency. If it tastes like crap, you can sprinkle some stevia in there, or like chop up just a little bit of fruit, like a banana, peach, pear, like strawberries, raspberries, something like that. Or again, go back to your sugar-free jam or jelly or your marmalade, and put that in your cottage cheese. The casein protein, it does have some fat content. So as a general rule, the more fat you have in your gut, the slower your body's going to digest it, and it slows nutrient absorption. the more carbs you have in your body, the quicker it's going to digest and the faster it's going to spike insulin, which is normally why you don't want to mix those two. But casein protein is a nice one because it's a very slow digesting protein. So it should leave you a bit more satiated and it'll digest throughout the night. So especially guys, if you're like a natural bodybuilder, then a lot of them will eat like a casein type protein before bed. I wouldn't recommend simple carbs before you go to bed. And a lot of people don't recommend carbs past a certain hour. So tonight I'm going to do some carbs. It'll be less than 100 carbs, maybe like 120 carbs, but they'll be more of your complex carbs. So I'll get some, I'll do some potatoes tonight, and then I'll do like some rice cakes or again, the sugar-free Jello with like granola or something like that. Oh no, my protein pancakes. And those are complex carbs because I've looked at the list of ingredients and mapped them out. And if you have trouble with that, you can do protein with higher fat at the end of the night, but I'd say probably keep the portion low. So like for me, what works a lot when I'm really really hungry, meat like beef jerky, and it can get expensive. So normally I don't advocate like breaking the budget with this, but I like beef jerky or like even some like your fattier meats before you go to bed might be okay, but just keep the carbs out of there. But I'd recommend starting out with the casein protein. If you can stomach it, do your cottage cheese, if you like the consistency, blend it up, throw some stevia on it, or some sugar-free marmalade, or just a small amount of fruit, because again, fruit is fructose. It goes to your liver, and then once you spill over, it goes right to fat storage. So don't overdo the fruit, especially before you go to sleep. Let's see. How do you fight creams at night? I try to sleep it off, but even drinking tons of water doesn't do anything. The only way to fix this is by eating something, especially carbs. Yeah, I mean, if eating carbs before going to bed works for you, then do what works for you. For me, I tend to get into the snack cycle, especially especially because I smoke and then I eat, and then usually I'm full and I'm like, oh, I need some carbs for the day. I'll start snacking, and then my insulin spikes a bit, and then it keeps going. But even though I'm a prolific midnight snacker and midnight toker, usually I still track everything. I still hit my macros. So that's why I give some of the tricks, like things that are high volume but not that dense nutrient wise. So things like your rice cakes, your Rice Krispie cereal with stevia on it. Guys, you can get like a small box of Rice Krispie treats. I think it's like it's between 900 and like 1100 calories. It'll give you a couple hundred carbs if that's the only carbs you're doing for the day. And then drink that with like a liter of almond milk, which is it's like 30 calories, 40 calories per cup if it's unsweetened almond milk. And you're going to get very, very full for less than 1,000 carbs. You're going to get extremely full on that stuff. So really, yeah, it just comes down to like how you want to map it out. And we'll get into this in future videos. It's a lot easier if I can actually walk you through the process and visualize it. I will have to spend a bit of time to come up with the visual aids here. So tomorrow, I think I'll probably just do the how to read a DEXA scan. And then again, it'll be more math. It'll be more numbers. You'll start giving you visuals. And then once we get into like the tracking side of things, it'll start to all come together. Thanks for all the answers, man. I appreciate it. As far as the creams at night, I'm trying not to eat anything past 6 o'clock, but that never works. I'm the same way. So that's why I do the one meal a day. During the morning, I'm usually kind of hungry. Like I was hungry this morning. I went to the gym completely fasted. And then afterwards, it kind of starts burning into your glycogen stores, and you start burning body fat at that point. I can tell I'm burning body fat because I get like the super clear mental stable level energy throughout the day. The last time I ate was about this time last night, so still have plenty of energy for the day. I don't do too much caffeine. I'll sip on like a Diet Dr. Pepper or two, and then the rest of the time it's sugar-free Gatorade or it's just water or tea. Again, everything's sugar-free, everything's low carb, low calorie, especially no sugar, no nasty crap. And then I fill in my diet with things that are low caloric density. So like your white fishes, your chicken breast. Like guys, chicken breast has a lot of protein. It has like no fat, and you have to eat a lot of it to hit your protein. 2 pounds of chicken breast or 2 pounds of like shrimp or like your low fat fishes, it'll give you, I think, about 160 grams of protein, kind of in that ballpark, which gives you plenty of room to add in your carbs from other sources or your fats from other sources if you're going low fat. So you want to go for volume. If you do it in one sitting, you're going to get very full very fast, and that should help you out. And again, guys, everyone's body is different, so you're going to have to try these things out. I'm telling you what works for me. I'm commenting on other things I've done and what the considerations were, why I did them that way, and the results I got. So really, it's kind of a trial and error type thing. Hopefully I can give you a starting point by giving you these tools to add to your toolkit, but really you're going to have to tweak your diet and your training and your schedule and your program and your budget and your personal preferences. And then eventually you're going to dial in what works for you. And then once you get there, like for example, I know what my maintenance diet looks like. I know what I need to do and I need to cut. Normally I'm 2 weeks away from being shredded for like a photo shoot or like taking my shirt off type event. Or if I want to bulk, I do a lean bulk now. I'm a couple weeks away from starting to get big and strong, and then I just ride that out for as big as I want to get, and then do the reverse dieting to cut back down again. So after you do this long enough, you start to learn your body. You know what works and what doesn't work. But for now, we're just getting into these introductory topics so I can help kind of lead you along the way to get there and figure out what works for your body, when, and why. So that being said, what do you say? Liposuction is it's a fast, good shortcut, or something backfires? It depends. So let's say you're obese. You're at like 38% body fat. You get down to 15% body fat. Learn how to diet down to 12% body fat, and you need that last 2% for your abs. However, you have loose skin all over the place. You have it on your inner thighs, your buttocks, your glutes, maybe your flanks. I have mine on my flanks. At that point, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and try lipo because you know how to diet and exercise correctly. Um, if you do lipo, but you're still sticking to the same routine that led you to be fat in the first place, well, guess what? Your body wants to maintain homeostasis. Now you don't have the fat cells where you had the fat removed, but your fat will come back if you're maintaining the same habits that led you to be fat in the first place. So I definitely don't recommend it as a shortcut. There are no shortcuts for any of this stuff, guys. I'll give you little tips and tricks here and there. So I always say there's no magic bullet for anything. You want to start adapting little lifestyle and habitual changes in your diet and your training regimen that stand alone, they won't do much. Like some of the go complex carbs versus simple carbs. Okay, that might give you like a 1 or 2% difference at the end of the day. But when you start compounding that with multiple tools and tricks and eating protocols, then you're going to start seeing big results fast. So I wouldn't recommend liposuction unless you've already dieted down quite a bit and you know how your body works and you know how to keep the fat off. For people, especially when they're bigger, I was a lot bigger. So I never did the lipo. I do like spa treatments. So I do one like when I'm in Mexico, it actually kind of fucking hurts, but I could just be a little girl too, or because I'm leaner level body fat, there's more nerve endings exposed. But it's called carboxy therapy. So they put like a needle in you and they insert like a carbon dioxide gas. And the idea is it comes from like some French beauty spa, whatever. But the idea is that with the carbon dioxide under your skin and like literally your stomach like bloats up with this hot carbon gas, then your body sends blood flow and increased oxygen supply to it. That works really well. However, for that to work, you have to be in a ketogenic diet because if you're eating fat and then just injecting gas in your skin, well, you're just irritating your body for no reason. Your insulin will still spike and it will still store the additional glucose or additional whatever that's in your bloodstream back into your adipose tissues. Is there anything that can clear your arteries of any fat, or is fat in your arteries there for good? Nothing you can do about it. No, if you have fat in your arteries, that's because you don't have a healthy diet. So you can definitely start doing that. I would say, God, I'd have to know how much and then what your body fat levels are and all that stuff. I'd say start cleaning up the diet. So start going away from, again, the saturated animal fats. Go more into like your avocados, your coconuts, your nut butters, like your peanut butters, cashew, almonds, macadamia nuts, your heart healthy fish fats, whether that be tuna, whether it be salmon, whether it be mahi or any of those things. Don't combine your fats and your carbs. And yeah, I'd recommend a keto diet, but it depends. If you have a lot of fat in your arteries already, you don't want to be introducing more animal fat. So I'd say just in general, clean up your diet. Maybe do a moderate, probably just I'd say probably do a balanced diet. Do a moderate amount of protein, moderate amount of fat, and moderate amount of carbs, but really focus on clean food sources, the cleanest, the best, most organic, cleanest, healthiest fats you can find. Same with the carbs, complex carbs. So you want like your whole grains, your legumes, your beans, things of that nature. And for meat, lean meat. Stay away from animal meats for now because you want to try to reverse that ideally. I know for ketogenic diets, people can use it to reverse type 2 diabetes, but I'm not too sure about fat in the arteries. So I don't want to mislead you there and say, oh, do steak and eggs for 30 days and then it adds to more fat in your arteries. That is something you want to take care of. That is an effect of having a poor diet. So you want to essentially, and guys, I've said this a couple of times about this broadcast, track what it is that took you to get there and then start going in the other direction. So if it was a high fat, high carb diet that got you there, then you're going to want to reduce the fat and the carbs, probably up the protein quite a bit, and then go that. If it's high carb, low fat, moderate protein that got you there, then you're gonna go the converse. You're going to go higher carb, lower fat, and protein. So that's why I'll get in these next couple of videos of how to track. Tomorrow we'll cover DEXA scan stuff. I think probably after that, I'll do like a macronutrient breakdown to start talking in terms of like the difference between caloric energy, like calories as an energy store versus your macronutrients. And macronutrients affect more kind of like your body composition. And there's some biological things that happen based on different macronutrients you introduce into your body. And then after that, we can start probably talking about like how to start tracking and building meal plans together. Guys, I'll use this to start wrapping up. So if you want to reach out to me directly, go to menshrine.com. You can sign up for the email list. I will keep you updated as more things are getting built out, as more content and coaching type things are coming down the pike. You can also do one-on-one coaching services there. So really, we can fast track this quite a bit if you go that route. We can do a sponsored YouTube video request. I could probably ask you a couple questions and send me your stuff, and I'll keep you anonymous, and then I'll break it down like per your use case. There's also a donate tab on there if you have a couple bucks you want to throw my way, like what I'm doing. I'm bootstrapping this entire build, so I do have some pretty aggressive goals to eventually build this into a business. So any sort of support on that front helps. If you don't have any money, that's fine. I totally get it. But the best thing you can do is subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below if I missed anything, or if you have any follow-up questions for me after the fact. Hit the notification bell so you are informed of these live streams as they are becoming live, and share this with any friends or family to start getting the word out. And guys, if you want to reach out to me directly, the best way to do so is at Instagram. That is at Jaron Scott, JarenScott. Again, that is at Jaron Scott on Instagram, spelled out as JarenScott. That is my personal account. That's usually where I check my messages. I check my messages in batches, so it might take a day, 2, even 3 days to get back to you, but I will get back to you. The branded account is at Menshrine on Instagram. That's more for notices for shows that are coming out. I'll eventually get a virtual assistant or a VA to start doing this stuff for me because I have all these social media accounts, but it's kind of a time suck to manage them all. So on the Menshrine one, I'll do like memes, I'll do show announcements, I'll do just general kind of 5 tips or whatever, socially shareable topics is what we call it. So that'll be the branded account. Again, the best way to reach me at Jaron Scott, menshrine.com. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave any comments below, and ring the little notification bell. Be sure to share with your friends. And with that, I will go ahead and wrap up this topic. Until next time, I shall bid you all farewell. Thank you.